Hello. One, two, one, two.
يا حبذا مجلس ذكر الحبيب به روح لروحي وتفريج لأحزاني صلى عليك الذي أعلاك منزلة نبينا لم تدرك بحسباني.
1 2 1 2 yeah, that's me. Let's go.
على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to a terrific and wonderful Wednesday edition of the social network right here on Radio Al Ansar, 90.4 FM, 105.6 in the Pietermaritzburg area, broadcasting live in Durban with myself, your host, Brother Zahir Abbasa, alongside Brother Ted on the technical side, as well as Sister Rebecca on the phone lines as we take you up to 4:30 p.m. this afternoon. Humble apologies for the late start. We do know that there is some revamping taking place at the studio. Alhamdulillah, that part of the year we need to fix all this little, all those crevices and those corners that needs a little bit of reparation. So inshallah, everything will work out well as we prep up for Souk 2024. Trust you're having a great afternoon, and you can message us to let us know how you're feeling and how your day is going on 0609041056. So a very interesting show here this afternoon, talking about mental health awareness. And it's no longer just a nice to have discussion. We're sort of delving a little bit deeper in sort of the topics of discussion here today. Also, we were chatting to a very interesting individual who is Anela Ndlovu, who is a mental health advocate, who will explain that she has been suffering with depression and also a suicide survivor and a recovering alcoholic. So this will be a very interesting one to chat about. Also, the stigmas attached to sort of mental health and how we should actually sort of be much more aware about how mental health sort of develops in individuals, their environment, their hormones. All of these factors play a role in a person's mental health. We'll also be chatting to Roshan Khamisa, a small business spotlight taking place after the 4 p.m. news bulletin. We'll be chatting to him about talented individuals running small businesses right from the comfort of their own home. Yet many of these hidden gems don't get the spotlight that they deserve. So we'll chat to Brother Roshan and about his business and see how maybe we can also get affiliated or support the brother with their business as well. So looking forward to that. So you're locked in listening to the social network right here on Radio Al Ansar 90.4 FM. I've got a riddle for you for today. So let's get those brain cells activated. And yeah, let's have a look, see what your riddle is for today. In what situation would 11 plus 2 equal 1? In what situation would 11 plus 2 equal 1? Simple one. If you know the answer, 0609041056. Let's go for a quick break. When we do return, we'll chat to our first guest this afternoon, Sister Anela Ndlovu. Stay tuned for that.
Getting you through your day. Radio Al Ansar.
Assalamu alaikum, welcome back. It is a social network. Up next, we're going to be chatting to our first guest. As mentioned, we're speaking to Anele Ndlovu, who's a mental health advocate and also someone who is a suicide survivor. So we'll be chatting to her about mental healthness or her mental health awareness, which is no longer just a nice to have discussion. It's an argument. It's an urgent topic of discussion that requires necessity. Now, with the rising rates of anxiety, depression, and burnout, the issue is touching every corner of society, from the workplace to our schools and even within our homes. Whether it's the lingering effects of a pandemic, economic pressures, or the pervasive influence of social media, we are navigating a landscape where mental health challenges are not just personal, but they are societal. But despite the growing need, resources remain stretched, stigmas persist, and conversations often fall short of addressing the root causes. Let's talk more. Anela, good morning and welcome.
Afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Good afternoon. Yes, good afternoon. Anela, how are you doing?
I'm good. You must have had a great morning since
Well,
you're saying good morning at this time.
I think it's the Durban heat that's catching up with me, hey?
All right. How are you? How is your mental health?
My mental health is so far so good on most days, but you have those hiccups nonetheless. But I think that makes us normal. You have to go through the bad days to appreciate the good ones, and we try to keep a positive mindset as much as we can. That's why we have this show, and that's why we have the station. That's why we have guests like you to uplift us and to sort of enlighten us about this very serious and very pressing topic that needs to be addressed. So let's jump straight into it this afternoon, Anela. When it comes to mental health challenges facing society today, how would you say the society's attitude has changed, and how has mental health sort of become much more in the spotlight and much more in the forefront in today's day and age? Has there been an increase of cases? Has there been a switch of perspective? Is it something that's always been there but has been regarded as something that isn't necessary to bring up? And how has things changed? Tell us the journey.
So I think it's definitely something that has always been there. But previously, because of just the stigma and there was no way to describe it, there was no way to define it, people didn't know what they were going through. And it was always also seen as a white disease, whatever mental health issues that you have. So that's where kind of the socialization and culturalization around mental health stems from. That, as brown people, as I always say, we didn't grow up knowing that you can be stressed and there's a word for it, or when you're anxious, there's a word for it, or when you're feeling down, there's a word for it, which is depression and things like that. But now I think because of more and more people maybe being educated and information being shared more freely, people are beginning to understand and define what it is that they're going through. And this has also, and I think there's been an increase in cases because people are coming out. I think before maybe there weren't any cases because if you are feeling a certain way, you were not going to necessarily deal with your low mood or your anxiety levels and your stress levels. You probably thought, I had a headache, which when a doctor starts speaking to you, they usually ask, is there anything going on at home? Is there anything going on at work? Because what we found is mental health issues, they manifest physically. So if you're not dealing with an issue, whether you are stressed or anxious and things like that, it manifests as mostly stomach aches and manifests as headaches. And then you go and you treat that. But when the doctor does the research, they see that no, something is challenging you, over and above the physical. And only now are people then able to say, okay, I do maybe have mild depression or severe depression, or I am always anxious, or when I'm in this sort of space, this stresses me out. And now you can deal with that instead of just the headaches and the stomach ache.
Well, I think, when it comes to sort of, Anela, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
I think, you definitely hit the nail on the head with addressing these types of issues, how we've changed, our attitude towards sort of mental health has changed over the past decade, I would say. It's become much more prevalent. Now, would you say there are a host of factors that can contribute towards mental health? Do you think that the stresses of society, of life, of personal relationships, of personal life, of the workplace, do you think these all add to mental health illnesses across the globe, even here in South Africa?
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And before I just share those challenges, what I would like the listeners to understand is, unlike previously, where in the past, when we think about mental health issues, we thought bipolar, we thought only schizophrenia, we thought of people who are admitted in psychiatric hospitals. Things like stress are mental health conditions, things like anxiety, OCD. You say someone is OCD without thinking it's actually a mental health condition. There is a way that someone can be treated for something like that. So we need to, I think that's what we've also come to now, is understanding that certain issues that we've probably overlooked are actually mental health related. And then in terms of what impacts and affects our mental health, work and finances are number one. So people, you spend a lot of your time at work. And with work, there are money issues, especially now. Yesterday was International Men's Day, and the focus was on men and being positive role models. But we've grown up, and society has taught us that men must provide, men must do this. So finances and work are the highest stresses for men, which cause them to have the depression and the anxiety, because it's like, I need to work so that I can provide for my family. If I don't provide for my family, I'm not going to get the recognition as a man of the house. And those things cause people stress. And we always seem like, yeah, this person is hardworking, but we never think about the level of work that they're doing and the time that they're giving to their work. And these things impact relationships, they impact your hobbies. You don't do things that will probably de-stress you. When you're always working, you're always thinking, how am I going to make money so that I can provide for people? You don't take the time out for you. You don't maybe run as much. You don't sit at home and maybe just catch up on TV, spend family time, because you're always thinking about, I need to make money, I need to work, I need to make money, I need to work.
That is true. I think, there's, a lot of situations these days. People say that we can't tell that this person's depressed. They put on such an amazing, convincing facade. And then you hear, like, weeks later or months later, something has happened to that individual and the person's been unalived. And, you'd never say you saw it coming. But are there sort of signs and symptoms that stick out that people around that individual can point out? Or is this something that's dormant and it just happens personally and without any sort of a notification to anybody else around them?
You can definitely tell. And I just want to use myself as an example that for me, when I was going through, before I was even diagnosed, with severe depression, you want to act. You don't want people to feel sorry for you because you're always the strong one. You're always the one showing up for people. So you want to be around people. You still want to do things even when you have to force yourself. And that's when some people don't notice that this person was going through a lot until something happens. But when they start thinking back to see, oh, this happened, and then they said this, So what I always say is, especially with people that are close to you, with me as an example, I like reading. I go to church. I read the Bible a lot. I spend time with friends. When I start changing those patterns, that's when the people around me can then tell that something is up. So knowing your friends, knowing your family members, and then you start to pick up if someone likes to go to gym and they're not going to gym as often, or they're going to the gym too much, because there's also that you do something that you think is good, like going to the gym, but when it's excessive, it's also a cause for concern. So if you see that someone is either doing something too much or they're doing a little of it, and it's something that they enjoy, ask them and say, I've noticed that you don't talk about going to the gym as much, and you just say it in a way like, is work too much? Are you going through something? And you're not like accusing them. You just say, oh, I've noticed this because you like this. You don't talk about any books that you're reading. Are you reading as much? And when we come with that attitude and that angle, someone is more prone to open up to you than if you just say, I think you're depressed, I think you're anxious, you should go see a therapist. And if you really can't help them, because sometimes, and I always say this, is not everyone is going to need to be on antidepressants. Not everyone is going to need to go to a psychiatrist or psychologist. Sometimes people just need someone to talk to and someone to offload and say, yes, actually, I've been stressed out. I am going through something. And after that, they feel a bit better, you know? So we shouldn't diagnose people, even if you can see that they're going through something. Be a shoulder to cry on, be a listening ear. And if they're really going through something, then you can say, I think maybe you should see a professional. Or I know someone who's gone through something similar to you, maybe speak to that person. That's the approach that we can take.
Now, when it comes to the sort of stigma, as mentioned, how does a stigma continue to impact access to mental health care? And what would you say would be the sort of practical steps one can take to dismantle these barriers?
So stigma is a big one that actually has prevented people from getting help, you know, and as I mentioned earlier, that especially in brown communities, because we're supposed to be strong and we're not supposed to go through things, you know, certain things that maybe white people go through. So when you then know that you maybe have been diagnosed with depression or with anxiety and things like that, it's very hard for some people to tell people around them because of the stigmatization. And what I found in the work that I do is because of the stigmatization around mental health, people then don't go and get help. They don't go for their sessions with their therapist or counselors. They don't take their medication because what if people see me going into that room in the hospital? What if people know that I'm taking these pills? They're going to think I'm crazy. They're going to think there's something wrong with me. So that still plays a big part. And because some people still don't understand fully, you know, around mental health issues, there's always that like, oh, you're just crazy or you're just being lazy. And then people feel they can't then talk about what it is that they're going through and then they just don't get the help for it. And what I always encourage people to do is if you know and you've spoken to someone, you don't have to tell anyone if you know that you're going to get stigmatized and victimized because of the illness that you are going through. Just go to your clinic, go to your chemist, or find something, a facility that's not close to your neighborhood where people who know you won't see you. But you need to get the help because those very people who are going to talk about you, their lives are going to carry on and you're going to find yourself in a darker and deeper hole that you might not be able to get out of. And that's where I found myself. Like I knew I was not okay. It took 7 months for me to finally say I'm not okay. And I always think back to if maybe after a month or two from a very traumatic experience that I went through, if I had just been honest, I probably could have started treatment earlier. I could have started my therapy sessions earlier. It wouldn't have led to now being diagnosed with severe depression, having a suicide attempt, being admitted in a psychiatric facility. You know, so when you feel off balance and you're not doing the things that you like doing, you're either sleeping too little, you're sleeping too much, you're thinking of taking substances like alcohol or drugs, you are not gymming or you're over gymming, you know yourself. Take action the minute you feel that way because you could save yourself and you could save time and you don't have to get to a position of you now have to be on medication for long periods of time.
And I think that's also something, you know, in given communities and societies these days, you know, people feel like it's taboo to bring up these kind of topics, so it's brushed off. And that's where people
Mm,
have even worse depression because it feels like they're looking for help, but the help that they require is not the help that they'll get because when they ask family and stuff, it's sort of like, nah, we don't believe in that. You know, mental health for who? When I was your
mm,
age, you never had that. We suck it up, we grow up, we act mature about it, you overcome it. It's just a passing phase. Do you think the attitude towards mental health has changed where we become more sensitive to it? Or do you think it's become more severe in situations where it needs to be addressed? It needs to be sort of taught to communities, especially the old school of thought, where they never actually saw it as something that can be diagnosed as a mental illness. What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's both. You know, it's both because like for our generation and the younger generations now, they do understand in being sensitive towards people who they may know, or even if they don't know and they see that you're not okay, are more likely to listen to you and to find you that help. You know, some people who maybe can't afford to pay for a psychologist, you know, there are things like the South African depression and anxiety group, which offers free counseling. There are places like Lifeline, which offer free counseling. Public hospitals have counselors, social workers, and psychologists. Even police stations have social workers and counselors. So you then tell people that, hey, you might not be able to afford it, but there are places that you can go and get help. The older generation, because of also their socialization, you know, boys don't cry, man up, oh, come on, this is a white people's disease and things like that. So for them, it's much harder getting them to understand, because they'll say, but look at us, we grew up fine. We came to this age and nothing was wrong with us. But if you start to listen to them and what they've gone through, especially with the history that South Africa has come from, they are traumatized, you know, but they never were like us, where we have you and your platform and your radio station that is actually saying, let's have these conversations. Let's understand how we can help you and how you can help yourselves. For them, it was, we are trying to survive. You know, if we don't act accordingly, anything might happen to you, you know. So they just had to kind of conform and man up and just carry on with life. And things are now changing with us and our generations, because we like, okay, but I don't, the more I do that, like you said earlier, the more depressed you're actually going to be. So it's just having those discussions within our families, sharing information, like, you know, the link to today's conversation is saying, hey, we were listening to the radio, this is what they were talking about, what do you think about it? And you get them to listen and you get them to understand. And that's why I keep saying that we need to understand that no longer is it just bipolar, schizophrenia, and, you know, those kind of major illnesses that are just, that affects our mental health. There are things that we go through every day. You know, added stress, added anxiety is a mental health condition. So it's just about, we need to just keep having the conversations, keep having the conversations. More and more people are coming on board, and more people will come on board. But if we don't talk about it, then we keep sweeping it under the rug. No one is going to know, and people are not going to get the help that they need.
Absolutely. And, touching on that as well, when you mentioned also about medication, do you think that medication is necessary for those suffering from depression or any other mental disorder? Do you think it's recommended? Do you think it's something that is long term? Or is it something that can have a quick fix? Based on your experience and what you've been through, can you sort of share that sentiment and that history? And do you still rely on medication to come out of depression, or have you overcome it? Please share with us.
Absolutely. So with me, and I've taken it now as it's like a chronic illness. You know, when you have diabetes or you have high blood sugar and blood pressure, sorry, and you just have to be on medication. Some people, like myself, will be on our antidepressants for long periods of time. However, not everyone will be on the same journey. So it's important that when you do start with your therapy, your therapist or your counselor, they'll always say that because of what you have experienced or are experiencing, we will recommend that you go on medication. Some people don't go on medication. They just get help, whether through therapy, whether it's art therapy, animal therapy. There are different therapies that your therapist will see that, okay, this is what you need, group therapy and things like that. But if things are severe for someone, they may need to go on medication. Some people, they go for 3 months. Some people, it's 6 months. Some people, it's years, like myself. And you keep having sessions once or twice a year to check, is the medication helping you, or do you actually have to stay on it? So with that, it will depend on you. It will depend on your situation and what it is that you're going through. Your doctor and your psychologist, your psychiatrist and your psychologist, they'll play a big part in whether you need to be on medication or not. And that's the other thing, that we immediately think if someone is going through something, oh, they're going to be on medication. That's not true. It's you. There are people that I know and that I was admitted with. Some of them only use medication for a couple of weeks, some of them a couple of months. For me, it's been, 3 years and I'm still on medication. But some people are no longer on medication. So it's very person specific.
Now, adding to that, with the healthcare system, what would you say, should there be any changes that is needed within the healthcare system to make mental health sort of support more affordable and accessible, especially for marginalized communities?
I think what will help is, with what was done in terms of HIV/AIDS, that the awareness was everywhere. And also the same thing with maybe the not smoking in public and things like that. The government really came on board in making sure that people have the information. And we saw more and more people, with the HIV/AIDS example, we saw more and more people being open to getting tested, being open to then taking the ARVs. You know, the same thing needs to be done here. There has to be more buy-in from the government. A lot of people, the majority of South Africans, rely on the public sector in terms of their healthcare. So if the government then plays that bigger role for me, before I started, working around mental health, I didn't know that hospitals have psychologists and psychiatrists, and it's not just your specific psychiatric hospitals. It's just a public, even a clinic, that they have social workers and therapists there. So it's people getting that information to say you don't have to wait to be admitted at a Fort Napier or a Town Hill or whatever psychiatric specific hospital, but you can go to your clinic, you can go to your public hospital, and you can get this kind of assistance. And if you need treatment, you will also get the treatment there. So I really think that there could be more communication and more awareness campaigns that are done by the public sector to ensure that people are getting the help. Because what you also find is, when you are not okay mentally or not okay emotionally, it impacts every area of your life. So people are impacted at work. You're not going to perform well. You're either going to be absent a lot, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. And a lot of people work for the state. So the state should then say, because we have a lot of people who work for us, what are the issues that they are facing? How is it that we can help them so that people are also more productive at work and they're showing up for themselves and showing up for the workplace? Because once you are not okay, you are not going to want to be in a space like work. You're not going to want to be involved in whatever it is that is happening in the community. So we need more awareness publicly, everywhere, billboards, community meetings, radio, like what we are doing right now, television adverts. Same way as we were able to discuss HIV/AIDS, the same thing can be done with mental health as well.
Mhm. Very interesting to know that. Absolutely. Now, let's talk about sort of how has the rise of remote work as well as digital connectivity, how has it affected people's mental health, and what strategies can help us balance productivity with well-being? We've seen that life has changed, we've evolved. Technology is something that we can't ignore. After the pandemic, people have become more
Mm.
isolated in their home. They don't go to work as often. They do their work from home remotely, being glued in front of a screen. That's obviously just announcing it out loud. It's not very healthy for an individual, because where's the sense of actually living? So do you think sort of social media platforms, especially when it comes to the pressures of the sort of perfect life, do you think that also plays a key factor in people's depression, and also the whole technological advancements? Does that also play a role in people's stresses and how they sort of perceive the world it is today?
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. With the work and working online, you don't know when to shut down. Unlike when you go to an office, you come in, you start work at 8, you get in maybe, let's say, 10 to 8, you know when your tea breaks are and your lunch break, you will take them. And at 4, 4:30 or 5 o'clock, you know that it's time to knock off. When you're working at home, you don't take into account all that. You are just online the whole time, working, 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 working until you probably feel tired. And by then, you've probably been sitting for 3, 4 hours without moving. And your body starts taking strain. Your brain starts taking strain because you're not taking a break. And also, when you're working at home and online, you don't have people that you're interacting with. Even at the office, you might sit maybe for 1, 2 hours, but you have other people around you, or you need to ask someone for information and you ask them next to you. When you are not around people, and you're just by yourself, you don't have that kind of connection with other people. And as human beings, we made for connection. So when you're not connecting and you're always just online, you're not speaking to other people in person, you're not sitting with other people, you're not walking to the bathroom and things like that, that does cause mental strain on you, and not taking breaks. And then when it comes to social media, it's especially with young people, there's this whole soft life, and you must live this life, you must take these kind of pictures, this is what you must post to show that you are really living. But people are posting a moment. It's not how they are really living. It's just showing that, oh, I'm having the best time of my life, but I've taken just one picture. And maybe I've took that picture 2 weeks ago and I'm only posting it now because you want to give off that everything is so perfect, when actually maybe things aren't perfect. But you also want to be part of the cool crew. You want to be part of the soft life crew. But that causes you then to it causes you to be anxious that, am I going to get the likes? Or do I have to maybe pose in this way, not wear enough clothing so people can actually like me? Is my makeup okay? And things like that. And especially with young people, you want to be seen and you want to be cool. But the backstory of it is you're doing all that for validation. And when you don't get that validation, it impacts on your self-esteem, which impacts on your depression levels because your mood changes. You feel like people don't love you. So social media has also played a very big role in how people's depression rates and the anxiety rates gone up, and also just how people are bullied online. Because you start to wonder, if I post anything, what will people say? Am I going to get the same reaction as the next person's tweets or the next person's Facebook post or Instagram post and things like that? So now you are shy to even connect with people on your social media because you don't know how someone is going to react and comment, and then other people are going to come. People are so mean online. They hide behind these names and fake profiles and things like that because they can then say whatever they want, and they leave you at that, not knowing how is that going to impact the other person. We've seen a rise in teenagers being admitted in psychiatric hospitals because of online bullying, because of the pressures that they see on social media and wanting to live lives of other people.
Yeah. That's true. And that's the sad part about it as well. But Anela, I wish we had more time. That is the end of our segment. I mean, this is something that can be discussed over an hour or two, So hopefully we can extend this conversation a bit more in the near future. But we do appreciate your time. You've definitely opened up a lot of information here for our listeners and myself to think about, especially when it comes to mental health in society. So we do appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming on our airwaves, and hopefully we'll chat to you soon.
Oh, thank you so much. This was great, and well done for leading this conversation.
And thank you so much for joining in on it as well. Thank you so much, Anela. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you. Bye.
That was Anela Ndlovu, mental health advocate, talking about mental health awareness. Very interesting topic indeed. Up next is your 4 p.m. news bulletin. Stay tuned.
Radio Al-Ansar. An informative Islamic global perspective. This is Al-Ansar News.
Making news. These are the 20th of November. The news from Durban, 90.4 FM, Pietermaritzburg, 105.6 FM. A search is on for missing teenager at Anstays Beach, America Monina. A search is underway for a teenager presumed to have drowned at Anstays Beach on the Bluff in Durban. According to Life Saving South Africa, the teenager was swimming with a group of friends yesterday, despite the beach being closed due to high levels of E. coli. It says that the 18-year-old was swept out to the sea during the tail end of the spring high tide cycle. Life Saving SA has again urged people only to swim when and where lifeguards are on duty. At the weekend, authorities responded to 2 separate fatal drownings on the south coast. More news now. Learners from the Hartley Road Primary School in Durban will swim for 41 kilometers to raise funds for the people of war-torn Gaza. The 41-kilometer distance is the length of the Gaza Strip. That's according to local media. Report says that the event will take place on the 24th of November at the Midmar Dam in KwaZulu-Natal. All proceeds raised from the initiative will be donated to the African Muslims Agency, a humanitarian organization that has been assisting Palestinians during the ongoing war. Report says on the base says one of the school's teachers, Firdaus Valley, says that during a normal morning during the physical education session with the girls outside on the field, Valley says it turned to the other teacher and asked, "What is the length of Gaza?" And she said around 41 kilometers. On that basis, the girls at the Hartley Road Primary School will swim in solidarity with Gaza on the 24th of November. More news now. Electricity and Energy Minister Kosiento Ramakopa says that the country has achieved yet another significant milestone. South Africa has gone through the longest stretch of uninterrupted power supply in 5 years. That's according to local media. Kosiento Ramakopa briefed the media earlier today on the finalization of their integrated resource plan and Eskom's prepaid metering rollover program. Kosiento Ramakopa says the grid is performing exceptionally well. He's explaining.
The 19th of November marks a record in our response to the load shedding question. So we recorded on the 19th of November the longest stretch of uninterrupted power supply in 5 years. So what does this statement mean? Two things. The first one is that, of course, load shedding is still an area that requires intervention. I did say to the country that at the right time when we are meant to call it, we'll call it that is over. But I'm not in that situation to make that firm pronouncement. I can't make that absolute statement. I had said previously that I'll share with you the honest truth. The system is performing exceptionally well, exceeding our own expectations. We can see that we are sustaining this momentum. So what that statement says is that it's the longest period of uninterrupted power supply.
Morning is now 37 years after student activist Caiphus Nyoka was killed. Lawyers and prosecutors had to inspect his former home. Apartheid-era police officers Leon Louis van Rensburg, Abraham Engelbrecht, and Peter Stander are charged with his murder. They have pleaded not guilty. But last week, former security branch member Johan Murray admitted to his role in Nyoka's death. TK Ngiza is the ANC Gauteng provincial secretary, is waiting in.
Was actually not supposed to happen. The ills of the past were given a space by TRC, because that's what the African National Congress stands for. We must all be free and be honest about the deeds of the past. And these people decided not to speak the truth. It haunted them because they killed a future leader of this country. They brutally murdered him while he was at home doing nothing, carrying no weapon. Killed them, shot him 12 times in his bed in his home with his parents and sisters and everybody there. And decided not to speak the truth when, people like President, former Nelson Mandela, Archbishop Tutu, they've said, let's come together as a country and speak the truth. And unfortunately, one of them could not sleep because he was haunted by the sins of the past and decided to confess. That's why they always say the arm of the law is very long.
And finally, your international story, Iran is warning the United Nations Nuclear Agency that its potential targeting of country with unconstructive measures will be met with a proportionate response on the part of the Islamic Republic, as European countries have submitted a new IAEA resolution. The Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi of Iran made the remarks during a telephone conversation with the International Atomic Energy Agency's Director General, Rafael Grossi. Earlier today, European countries submitted a new anti-Iran resolution to the IAEA ahead of the board meeting. Your weather, 29 degrees. A quick reminder of our top story. A search is underway for a teenager presumed to have drowned at Anstays Beach on the Bluff in Durban. That's the news. We now cross over to Pietermaritzburg for more stories.
Making news in Pietermaritzburg on 105.6 FM. In a bid to motivate the Mbali community to grow their own produce, the Duzi Mgeni Conservation Trust Mbali team has transformed an illegal dump site into a thriving vegetable garden. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh and good afternoon. I'm Mehri Mia. In a bid to motivate the Mbali community to grow their own produce, the Duzi Mgeni Conservation Trust Mbali team has transformed an illegal dump site into a thriving vegetable garden. Led by Spomele and Ndlovu, the Enviro Champs team from Mbali, it aims to not only provide fresh produce for the community, but also repurpose the previously derelict space into a sustainable community resource. The site was initially filled with construction debris, plastics, bottles, and solid waste. Ndlovu said it took the team a month of dedicated effort to prepare the ground for planting. And finally, an uncapped list of beneficiaries, a fundraising plan that has been in limbo for years, and a proposed multi-million palace have MPLs concerned that the Royal Household Trust, which takes care of the financial needs of Zulu King Misuzulu Kazweletini, will become a burden to the KZN government. According to half-yearly financial documents tabled before KwaZulu-Natal Legislature's Finance Portfolio Committee yesterday, the trust has already spent more than 70% of its annual budget, with about 6 months to go before the closure of the financial budget. The trust, which in the current financial year received a 77.5 million rand allocation from the provincial government, takes care of the needs of the king, the Zulu royal family's queens, queen mothers, princes, and princesses. Addressing members of the committee, Dr. Lanshlam Kize, the Director General of the KZN Office of the Premier, under which the Royal Household Trust falls, said the department had no control over the number of beneficiaries which the entity had to take care of. Taking a look at our temperatures, we are currently experiencing a high of 27 degrees Celsius. That's it from Pietermaritzburg on 105.6 FM. For Al Ansar News, I'm Mehreen Mia. Assalamu alaikum.
We'd love to meet you. Pay us a visit. Radio Al Ansar.
Looking for the perfect Umrah experience? Look no further. One Stop Travel and Tours brings you exclusive Umrah group packages with Qatar Airways departing from Johannesburg. Enjoy a seamless journey with flights, accommodations in Makkah and Medina, and visas all included. Experience spiritual peace with Ziyarat Tours guided in English. Departure dates start from December 25th, returning by January 14th. For a stress-free, soul-enriching Umrah journey, call One Stop Travel today at 031-271-2800. One Stop Travel and Tours. Your pilgrimage, our priority. Come get our butcher's best for less at Checkers Foods Kawi Park. Enjoy certified halal butchery products like chicken breast fillets, just $64.99 per kg. Bulk lean beef mince, just $89.99 per kg. And leg of lamb, just $149.99 per kg. Deals valid until Tuesday, November 19th. Only at Checkers Foods Kawi Park. Now certified by the NIHT, the National Independent Halal Trust, across our butchery, bakery, and deli. Looking for the perfect Umrah experience? Look no further. One Stop Travel and Tours brings you exclusive Umrah group packages with Qatar Airways departing from Johannesburg. Enjoy a seamless journey with flights, accommodations in Makkah and Medina, and visas all included. Experience spiritual peace with Ziyarat Tours guided in English. Departure dates start from December 25th, returning by January 14th. For a stress-free, soul-enriching Umrah journey, call One Stop Travel today at 031-271-2800. One Stop Travel and Tours. Your pilgrimage, our priority.
When you give water, you're reaching out to drought-affected areas, bringing them to life. Fresh water to drink, to clean, and to grow. That's the power of water. Donate now to Islamic Relief.
Looking for an Android POS system that boosts efficiency and integrates effortlessly with your business systems? At SMG Technical Services, we offer mobile solutions tailored for retail, restaurants, and service industries. Our system allows you to process transactions and manage sales inventory in real time on Android devices. Enjoy benefits like flexibility, user-friendliness, cost-effectiveness, multi-payment options, and enhanced customer experiences. For more information, contact us at 084-945-9349.
Looking for the perfect Umrah experience? Look no further. One Stop Travel and Tours brings you exclusive Umrah group packages with Qatar Airways departing from Johannesburg. Enjoy a seamless journey with flights, accommodations in Makkah and Medina, and visas all included. Experience spiritual peace with Ziyarat Tours guided in English. Departure dates start from December 25th, returning by January 14th. For a stress-free, soul-enriching Umrah journey, call One Stop Travel today at 031-271-2800. One Stop Travel and Tours. Your pilgrimage, our priority.
يا رجائي يا رجائي يا رجائي يا رجائي يا رجائي يا رجائي
Assalamu alaikum, welcome back. It is at the social network right here on Radio Al Ansar. Up next, we're speaking to Roshan Khamisa. South Africa is home to countless talented individuals who are quietly running small businesses right from their homes. They're crafting unique products that are full of passion, creativity, as well as skill. Yet many of these hidden gems do not get the spotlight that they deserve. Now, today we're introducing you to one such business, a home industry that's decided to take matters into her own hands and support her child with her gift for preparing the perfect homemade savories. Roshan, good morning, good afternoon rather, and welcome.
Assalamu alaikum. How are you, Zahir?
Wa alaikum salam. All good, my side. And your side, sister?
Shukr, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, indeed. Now let's talk about your small little home industry business. What motivated you to start your business, and how have you decided, and why have you decided on savories? Can you give us the story behind the brand?
It was basically to earn a living, and me being a single mother and nobody, to depend on but myself, I had to do something, and then it was, let's just say the bills kept me motivated. And, I was once told also that if there's anything or something that someone will pay for, so you need to harness that skill. It will pave the way to make a living and to live a life. So savories is what we all grew up with, and I kind of enjoy making the best mouth-watering treats, from scratch.
Absolutely.
And seeing the same, in being enjoyed once tasted. So that
Never
drove
wasted.
me. Never wasted.
Once
Definitely.
tasted and never wasted, as they say there, sister. But when it comes to homemade food, a lot of people say, "Oh no, mine's the best. Mine's is the best. Mine's is the best." But homemade food has a special kind of love in it. So, what makes your savories stand out from the rest?
Look, I use the finest ingredients, and I make sure that the standard of perfection is consistent. I make sure the taste, is wholesome and rich in flavors also. Now, and when it comes to presentation, you got to present it beautifully. You know what they say. You eat with your eyes first, and whatever it is that I make from scratch, at home. Even when it comes to like my samosas and things, my pastries, all made from scratch. And I've got the best critics at home. They are blunt as can be. So that's my motivation as well. My family.
Alhamdulillah. I think family always is sort of that ignition that ignites your soul to do what you do with passion and vigor and vitality. Now, running a business from home is not a small feat at all. You've got your kids running around, you've got a spouse to look after, you've got the expenses, you've got lots of things to worry about. So what would you say has been the hardest part of this particular journey, and what keeps you motivated and going every single day?
The hardest part of the journey, I would say, was to establish trust with your customers. And you got to ensure that they spread the word for you and return, themselves. And then, the thing is that there's lots of people that are doing or are kind of providing the very same services. So you just got to make sure that your quality and you don't drop your standards. Just whatever it is that I do as well, it's I don't do them as catering quality. I provide them with homemade quality. I mean, what keeps me going is that when you liaise with the customers and things, they like become your family. And then the pleasure of such, is just enough to keep me going.
And then, your food has been getting so much of love locally. What's your personal favorite item to make, and why?
It's difficult to choose a favorite, but if I had to narrow it down, I would say samosas and banana puri, because when it comes to that, it gives me room, to be creative in the decorative side. And because of banana puri being such a tedious task when it comes to frying, and when you look at them and see them open up the way they should, it just brings a sense of pride. To some it might seem, kind of small, but it really lifts your heart to see something turn out exactly the way you wanted it to. So,
if you can give a message to any of the listeners out there who has their own little business from home or is looking forward to sort of expanding it or taking that leap of faith, what was the trigger inside of you to say, okay, these are my savories, I know how to make it, I know people love it, and I'm going to take that leap of faith and start my own business? What is the key factor, the catalyst, would you say, that can inspire those listening to sort of catapult their career in terms of fulfilling their passion on the side, or whether going into full-time? What's your words of inspiration?
Zahid, I would tell them not to give up. You would encounter many, many, many obstacles along the way. Success might be few and far in between, but you know what? It's success nonetheless. So we just got to keep on swimming. And you need to have patience as well.
Patience, I think sabr is definitely the key when it comes to any sort of business. And for our listeners out there who want to find out more about your wonderful savories, what do they do? How do they connect with you? How do they find you on the social media platforms and beyond?
They can give me a call on WhatsApp or a normal call. They can reach me on, is it okay if I give my number through?
You sure? Sure, go for it.
0763 222 094.
There we go. Thank you so much for joining us, Sister Roshan, and we appreciate you sort of sharing with us your story, and we make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala pave the way for success for you and your family, and maybe see your products go beyond just your home and just locally, maybe, you never know, nationally, you might see it as well. But Jazakallah khair for your time, very inspiring story, and we hope to chat to you again real soon.
Ameen, Summa Ameen, and Jazakallah so much for having me on your show.
And Jazakallah khair for giving us your time this afternoon. Jazakallah khair. That was Sister Roshan Khamisa joining us here, talking about her wonderful and amazing home industry business. And I think it's definitely inspiring indeed, especially when you meet individuals like this. It gives us sort of hope to also take a chance and to take that leap of faith in life and to achieve our goals where we can. I think if you have the passion and if you have the skill, then why not show it off and share it with the rest of the world? Why not? Indeed. That brings us to the end of the show here for today. Some messages coming through. We've got Brother Frank was asking about, is it possible that a psychiatrist or psychologist can make a wrong diagnosis too, resulting in prescribing wrong meds? I don't think it's limited to those two disciplines. And I don't think a psychologist can prescribe medication. I think it's only a psychiatrist. And when it comes to sort of matters of mental health, I think it's always safer to go through different routes, more than one sort of medical perspective. That's just my personal opinion. I think it's just to go to others and ask for different types of help and sort of finding out the right information and see if medication is needed at first. Also, so Sister Ruk says, Assalamu alaikum to the team. May the beauty of my Almighty always surround you, the scent of peace envelop you, and the rahmah of my Almighty Allah descend upon you and your family. Ameen. Alhamdulillah for the trails that prompt us to spend longer in sujood. Ameen, Ya Rabbal Alameen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability to mirror the teachings of our deen in all our faculties and activities in life. Ameen. Say Ameen. Ameen. Salams to the team as well as the entire Ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That brings us to the end of the show here today. Big thanks to all of you for joining us. Brother Ted on the technical side, Sister Rebecca, Brother Muhammad Ayaz, all our guests that have joined us, and our amazing listeners. You once again catch us again tomorrow for a Thursday edition right here on the social network. Until next time, look after yourself as well as one another. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Looking for the perfect Umrah experience? Look no further. One Stop Travel and Tours brings you exclusive Umrah group packages